Solicitations! It is me, Felicia Day, and this is my podcast. Woo-woo! Hey, y'all. It is podcast time. We're doing a podcast. It's so fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a slow one. It's a slow one this week. I don't have a lot of things that have happened in the last 2 weeks that I can really talk about. I had a couple of auditions that did not go well. I mean, they were fine. I had 3 incidents this week that were awkward. Well, 2. So one of them, I had 2 auditions back to back, and one of them I walked in and there were 7 other redheaded women in their mid-30s. Some of these women I have been auditioning with for like 15 years, y'all. And I literally had that moment where I'm like, are you moving forward in life or are you going backwards? So I had a little bit of a life crisis, and that was super fun. I did fine. It was fine. The odds of me getting a role, I have actually very, very, very rarely ever gotten a role through an audition. I am not good at them. The odds are always very slim to get anything in those circumstances. And I get really super nervous. So there you go. All add up to the attitude of like, why do I bother? But at the end of the day, unless I expose myself to situations where I am perceiving danger where there is not danger, I will not be able to progress and get better. So I went knowing, and I just kind of prepped myself. I'm like, you know what? This may not go very well. And you're doing it with full knowledge that this is going to be a stressful, maybe not great experience. But you have to do it to A, better yourself, and B, even have a chance at getting better as an actor and or getting a role. So did those. That first audition was awkward with the 7 redheads. Also, we had to sing, which is fine, but they didn't really tell us. So people were really, really nervous. And it's really sad to see people in their mid to late 30s just acting so incredibly nervous after all of them very experienced years. So it's not just me. Like literally there was a woman going like breathing like Darth Vader and just like shaking all her arms. And one of them was freaked out that she had to sing. And I'm just like, guys, we are women. We have been through it. Why are we? It's just auditions are terrible. They do not put you in the right state of mind. They are actually abusive to your inner creator. And I truly believe that. But you have to know that that's not the art form. The art form is the actual getting of the role. The business of it is getting the role and doing the role. The art form is doing the role. The business is getting the role. And they're 2 different skill sets. And I know some people who are the best auditioners and they're just, not as good actors, but they always work because they can get past that barrier. And that is just a reality you have to accept when you're in a business. So, if you're a shoe salesman and you don't like the smell of people's feet, like that's, either put up with it or get out of the kitchen or foot factory. I don't know. Anyway, so that was one audition that I had. Second audition was for a show I've always wanted to be on. I'm not going to say what it is. Comedy. And I was excited, and it was kind of a straight role, not that exciting a role. And at the end, the casting director was like, these sides aren't very funny. And I'm like, that's not really what you want to hear from a casting director after you do a scene. And she's like, the sides aren't really funny. I'm like, no, maybe I wasn't very funny. Oh boy, that was fun. And then I went to my friend Seth Green's movie premiere, Changeland, which is a lovely movie, y'all. If you can get it on iTunes, it's really fun. My friend Claire Grant, who is married to Seth, kind of steals the show, I have to say. I mean, Seth is amazing, and he wrote and directed and starred in it, okay, he's amazing. But Claire, I'm so proud of her. She's so incredible and so pretty and just a good actor. Anyway, so shout out to Claire in that movie. She was on Team Unicorn. If you guys watched those videos a while ago, she was one of the producer and like the creator of that. So one of the women. So cool. Kudos to them. But anyway, I went and it was at the ArcLight, which is a really cool theater. But it was not like it was a premiere, but I really think it through. And I put on a clean shirt and I combed my hair and I showed up. And I wasn't intending on doing red carpet. Like I was just going to show up, and I saw my friend Will and a bunch of other friends. It was so fun. And then, of course, what happens? The press agent was like, hey, we're trying to get everybody to take pictures on the red carpet. Could you please take a picture? So I'm like, okay. I look down at my pants. There's no snot on the front of them. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I go onto the red carpet, pose. And one of the photographers, the paparazzi people, yells out, hey, love your casual look. Yeah, that's what you want to hear when you're on a red carpet. It was, I mean, I had boots on. It was like, oh, anyway, I shouldn't go in public. I just got my hair cut and colored, and I mean, just, I make it a little bit redder than normal. Y'all, I do have red hair, but I make it a little brighter, and I get highlights. I try to buff it up a little bit. And so I got it cut, and I did my eyebrows, and I feel really good. My head feels fresh and good today. I'm really tired. I haven't been sleeping. I've been doing work late, and I've been reading books way too late, and they excite me, and I can't stop my heart from racing when I get excited about a book, which I will talk to you about in a minute. And so I'm tired. So then I was like, you got to do something with your head, lady, because it's, you can look tired, but you got to have good hair. So I'm feeling good today about myself. I went this last weekend to, oh, by the way, before I get too far into just talking by myself, please download Voyage to the Stars. It is, our first season is wrapping up now, and those numbers really help us. And the guest star this week is super, super funny. So definitely download. Also, if you like this podcast, definitely subscribe. Leave a review if you could, wherever you enjoy it. And share it with any friends who you think you might like. They might like this. Anyway. All right. So, Voyage to the Stars, felicitations. Go. Thank you. Okay. So, I went to Richmond, Virginia, and it was a last-minute convention. I was supposed to go to a convention in New Orleans, which I've been looking forward to all year because I've been wanting to go to New Orleans. And they randomly canceled the whole event, which is so weird. Hopefully, I'll be able to go next year. They delayed the convention until November, but I have another conflict there, so I couldn't make it this year. Next year, maybe? So that's weird. Another random weird thing that happened. Weird in a good way because I got to go to Richmond, Virginia. Now, the only reason I agreed, I was excited to stay home that weekend. And then I've never been to Richmond. And, one of the excuses I do, as I go to conventions because I'm excited to go to different places in the world that I would not normally go. And so Richmond, Virginia, I looked it up when they invited me. And I was like, this looks like a cool town. Guys, it's a really cool town. First of all, it's beautiful. Anything with trees is exotic to me because in LA, we just live in scrub. So the trees are beautiful, and it's just such a lovely little town. The architecture is very East Coast, and there are all these sort of clapboard, different colored, brightly colored little houses. It's a little rundown. I love a little rundown, hippie, kind of like progressive but small, cool town. It really reminded me of like Portland or Austin when I first started college long time ago when it was funky and weird and awesome. And so I really enjoyed it. And I went to the convention. It was the first year of the convention. And it was actually really packed comparatively. I saw John Barrowman and Peter Capaldi actually acknowledged me, which I got a little fluttery inside, I will admit. There were a lot of voiceover actors there who were friends of mine. And there was really good food. I guess Richmond is super serious about their food. They're amazing places. I went to this one bakery, and I cannot remember the name of it. It's the biggest bakery in town, most famous. They had the most delicious pastries, y'all. I'm not sure. I am not underestimating the fact that I had 5 pastries in one day. I got a whole box, and I meant to share them with other people, and I accidentally put them in my mouth. Quote unquote, accidentally. Yeah. And it was just before I left, I was like, oh, good. You can eat really moderately and start losing weight because now that I've weaned the baby, I could see where some weight is coming off my body just a little bit, not too much, not enough, but it's okay. I'm slimming down in areas where like my stomach where I didn't really have any fat before. And I think my body was kind of holding on to it. And so I'm feeling good about myself, doing a little bit of working out. And I'm like, great, you're going to eat really moderately all weekend and Richmond and come back feeling cleansed and healthy. Not. So all the pastries went right into and I carb loaded it out and it was delicious. Delicious. I met so many awesome people in Richmond. The crowd there was a lot of families, which was so nice to see. Lots of kids. It made me want to squish my baby and miss her. I missed her a lot. And, but there were so many cool geek families there. And I cannot tell you how much I adore seeing a mom and a dad, with their kid and just letting their weird flag fly. It just makes me so happy because I think that's the best thing in life. We can allow ourselves and our children to be who they are and grow into who they can be, who they are organically. and not pressure them into being something we want them to be or society tells them to be because of what they look like or where they're from or whatever. So kudos to all the parents out there bringing your kids up geeky. All the cute little outfits. Oh my God. And one of the coolest things that happened in Richmond was a woman came up to me. Well, first of all, two things happened. A person came up. He was a British guy who was a big fan of mine, and he used to work with serial killers. So in the middle of the line, I'm talking to him about serial killers, which was a little probably not appropriate in front of the geek families. And then I ran into some people who work at NASA, and they actually gave me some papers for my grandfather. So I mentioned to them that he was a physicist. My grandfather was a physicist. He was a nuclear physicist, and he had patents. And they came back the next day and printed out his papers. And they were mostly, the two patents that they found were about lasers, neutron lasers and stuff like that. Anyway, he was really brilliant, but I never really knew exactly what he did. And the fact that they printed out and these papers and brought me them, and now I can learn a little bit more about what he did and his expertise, it really made me tear up. So it was just so lovely. And thank you. And then another thing that made me tear up was a woman who came through, and she's a therapist, and she specializes in teenage girls and their anxiety and depression and eating disorders. And she told me that in their office, they have my memoir available for people to read. And it made me cry because especially when I meet teen girls, I feel I project myself into their shoes because I was very awkward. I was homeschooled, so I always wanted to be around people, but I wasn't. And I always wanted to, just have friends and be comfortable. And I was relatively comfortable with myself, but I did feel like an outcast a lot because I didn't have a lot of intersecting interests with the girls at ballet class. I was a geek, but I didn't have geeks around me. And so whenever I see a girl, from the ages of like 10 to 18, and they come up to my table and they tell me that Charlie Bradbury meant so much to them, or my book meant so much to them, or I'm a role model, it just makes me realize like, oh, I'm doing something okay in this world. Because if I can help that girl feel more at home in herself, then I'll be helping somebody where I wasn't helped when I was a kid. And so that was really lovely. So hopefully the next thing I make will also help, people of all ages, but those girls too. All right, in consumption this week, I read 3 books that were super great. I read a book called An Illusion of Thieves by Cate Glass, and that was a really fun book. These are all, this one is a fantasy. It was a fantasy book, and it had some really great characters and interesting world building. And it seemed like it was setting up for a sequel. It was, I love anything with thieves in it because generally in D&D, I will either play a thief or a sorcerer. And in RPGs, I often play thieves or sorcerers or wizards or whatever. So I do, and I love subterfuge and the idea of picking locks and all that stuff. One day I will learn how to pick a lock, and it will come in handy one day, maybe in one day. So that was a super fun book with a really cool protagonist, and it was kind of like a heist. It was a heist fantasy, which was really great, and I can't wait to read this. I hope there's a follow-up. The other book I read was amazing, and I cannot rant enough about this book. It's 3 sort of novellas that were put together, and they're called The Games House by Claire North. And I have a hard time describing these books. The first one is by far the best. It's incredible. It's set in Venetian 18th century, 17th century. And it's essentially kind of like a whole novella about Littlefinger and Varys and intrigue and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I want to see this come to light so bad. And it also had tarot cards, which I'm obsessed with. And then the second one was a more modern one in the same world. And then the third one was like a contemporary story. But they're all set around the same thing called a games house. And I don't want to give any more away. But if you're a gamer, super or gambler or whatever, it's super interesting. The world building's so good and the writing is so lush and lovely. So obsessed with that author. I need to follow up on her other work. And then the last book that it literally has not allowed me to go to sleep for the last 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, because it's a very long book. And ding, 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 a standalone fantasy. What? Insane, right? There's no standalone fantasies anymore. This one is. I don't know how big it is. I read it on my Kindle. It seems like it's probably an 800-page book. It's very long. And it is so good. I literally could not sleep because I was so excited when I put this book down. I did not want to stop. I started like skimming it. I was like, no, don't skim it. It's called The Priory of the Orange Tree. And it is a high fantasy series with dragons and all sorts of different cultures. It has a female-female romance at the heart of it, but I would not define this as a sort of a quote-unquote lesbian fiction, Like, it's not defined by that. I thought it was so interesting the way that she dealt with the relationship. It's just two people who love each other. They're just suited for each other, And I just loved the way she wrote this book. I really loved it. There were a lot of really great characters. It was very Game of Thronesy in that someone might be killed off. That's very surprising. A lot of dark stuff, a lot of cool magic, dragons. So I really loved this book. And like I said, a standalone fantasy book is so rare to find nowadays. One of my favorite fantasy books ever is Tigana, and it's a standalone fantasy, but it's much more grounded. This definitely has magic and all sorts of stuff and religion, and it was just really, really great, y'all. So highly recommend all three of those books, all three female authors, and that's just a coincidence because I did not mean to do that, but whatever. They're all three good authors. It doesn't matter. And so the next two books I'm going to read are they're on my list right now. They're in the Kindle. Empire of the Sand by Tasha Suri, which looks like a very interesting world-building kind of fantasy novel. And A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martin. And I believe that is a science fiction book. It looks really cool. The cover is amazing, and sometimes I pick things up at the cover. Sorry. Okay. So that's what I consumed. As far as like TV, I have not watched jack poop. I have not been able to watch anything, y'all. I'm not kidding. Every single evening, I have either been working or I went out 2 times. God forbid I go out 2 times in a week. I had Spanish class. I've been producing quite a lot of stuff. And as a producer of a TV show, I have a lot of things that I'm working on to go out and try to sell and pitch. I have a TV show that I'm working on now called Woman World, and we are working on developing that right now. So a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I have a big announcement that will probably be in the next couple weeks. I'm very excited to announce something I've been working on for 6 months, and I'm super psyched to get you guys on board that. Your support will be very appreciated. And I promise you will like what I did. So that's happening soon, and I've been working on that behind the scenes. I can't reveal what it is, but I'm excited. And I have big plans. I've been working on several things I'm excited about to kind of, again, still trying to get people to support them. But I have things that I'm going to be doing that will be made, and you guys will see, and they are creative and from my brain and into your faces. So I feel like I've turned a corner from when the baby. I've been on a shelf for a couple years, dealing with a lot of mental stuff and some baby stuff, adjustment, identity stuff, and finally I got my training wheels off, and I'm back on. Well, I'm still need the training wheels. Okay. Also, I decided to really concentrate on improving my mind. Instead of using social media on my phone. So I'm trying to get back into language building. I have to say there's some changes made to Duolingo that I am not a fan of. It's kind of different. So I'm trying to adjust to that. I downloaded another app called Linguist, which was very good. I think I mentioned it before. And there are a couple of other apps that I've been trying to use. So Tiny Cards and Bilingu app, which is basically you read in Spanish and compare the English, I already talked about that. So I'm trying to get back on the language train. I haven't been really good about it in the last month, but I also am only using the New York Times crossword puzzle. I got a subscription to that, and then I got a subscription to this new app called Elevate, which is supposedly brain games that you interact with. And so I'm excited about it. You do a little bit of math, you do a little bit of reading. I don't know if it's actually good for my brain, but it feels better than just, playing some random. Well, I don't care about. Actually, I'm not going to condemn myself for playing any games. I do condemn myself for just looking at Twitter and updating it because I'm not getting anything from it. I can tell when I consume content from it, I am consuming a headline and nothing is going into my permanent storage, which basically makes me treat my brain like it's just flowing, like it's sandstone or something. It's like a stone where water flows through it, in and out, but it just literally goes right through it and doesn't absorb anything. Rather than it's like a pumice stone versus a sponge. And I want my brain to sponge stuff up. I want to actually invest in my brain and grow it because I want to slow down time. There's this whole phenomenon where time seems to speed up the older you get. And it's because also proportionally the time that you're spending is a smaller proportion of your total life. But at the same time, you're just not growing and challenging your brain enough. And when you challenge your brain and you have to grow and it's encountering different things, you slow down time. So it's like something advantageous. I don't want to speed up time. We don't have enough time as it is. So there you go. All right. That is my nom consumption. All right. Let's do a couple of questions and then wrap this up. Opal LaFay asks, I love listening to Voyage of the Stars. Thank you, Opal. You have good opinions. And I want to know, and I know it's improvised, and I was wondering how you prepare for your role as Elsa Rankford. Guys, Voyage of the Stars is an improv sci-fi podcast. I've been talking about it for about 6 months. We are coming up to a close for season 1. I'm hoping we do another one. The number of listens determines. I prepare. So the great thing about it is that it is improvised, so we don't have any lines that we know that we're going to say, but we do have scenarios. So we will get a sheet at the top of every single section, and it'll say, hey, okay, this is what's happening. This is what you're encountering, and and they'll give a one-liner to Elsa. She's upset at Tucker because he did X, and make sure to bring up X, Y, and Z. Okay, go. So that's all we have to improvise, and we do like 30 minutes per sentence of prompt. So we do get to improvise a lot and add our own stuff. The great thing is about improv is like the funniest stuff you come up with, you don't think about. It just comes out your mouth without your brain censoring it or questioning it. And that's the opposite of what I just said I don't want my brain to do with information from Twitter. I do want my creativity to come out of my brain without sort of friction. And I think that's where your best creativity comes. I recently read a book about teaching music to toddlers. And the number one thing the teacher said was like, make sure they know that there are no mistakes when you're making art. And I thought that was so beautiful because I'm like, I always think I'm making mistakes, and that's why I write so slowly, because I have the wrong part of my brain turned on when I'm doing the actual creation of it. I can be a critic later. I just need to create without the idea that there are mistakes. And so that's how improv is. And that's why when I listen back to the episodes, it's like I'm listening to it like you guys, because I literally don't remember what's coming out of my mouth. And so the only thing I do to prepare for Elsa is that I prepare a list of terminologies for the science babble that she does. Like, it's a friction, it's a neutron fusion cohabulator. That didn't sound smart. I want to sound smart. So I do have like a little list of terminologies that I can pull from as I'm improvising. I'm the only person who does that. And sometimes when I'm like, if I read through the thing the night before and something occurs to me that could be funny to bring up, I might like jot like a word or two in the corner. But certainly that's the most preparation we do. And that's why it's so special. All right. Gina Wilcoca. I'm sorry, Gina. Neutrogena on Twitter asks, hey, Felicia, love the podcast and your recommendations. I've already read 3 of the fantasy books you talked about on the show. How can I continue to find similar books? How do you come across these books? Thanks. Gina, good question. I subscribe to a lot of fantasy blogs. Pat's Fantasy List is one that I read a lot. I believe that's Fantasy Hot List or something like that. So I do subscribe in my RSS feeder, my Feedly. I am an old school person. I use RSS still. Sorry. I do enjoy reading a lot of references from there. I see them reviewing books because they're like, as professional, science fiction and fantasy readers, they get arcs. So I will learn about a book and then I'll pre-order it or whatever on online or whatever, or put it on a list so I can go pick it up at the bookstore later. I also highly recommend the Barnes & Noble has a really great list of upcoming fantasy for the month. And just, they have amazing lists. Whoever over there curates their fantasy and science fiction is wonderful. And I always pick up interesting things from there. And then the recommendation engine on Amazon, people who bought this book here, these are other books that they bought. Generally, I will often pick up a book from that recommendation engine, and rarely am I steered wrong. So I guess that's a good thing where I think people are tailoring things to your needs. I also follow a lot of authors on Twitter and can see when their books are, I usually try to pre-order as much as possible because it allows those authors to get more money, and allows the book to be seen more. People don't know this, but book pre-orders are so incredibly important because those numbers are how bookstores are determine how many books to order for their stores. And then also it counts toward the New York Times bestseller list, all the pre-orders. So it's like the minute the book goes on sale, all those pre-orders count toward that first week of sale. And that visibility gives people a huge boost and makes or breaks people as authors. So I try to always pre-order. So anyway, that's how I found them. Sean Sandalooky is so wonderful. He has a whole wiki. It's felicitations.fandom.com where he lists all the books that I talk about. And I will continue to do that. I really need to update my Goodreads, and that is a to-do on my list. So 100% I will do that. I promise this month. Maybe next month. Okay. Let's see, what other books? Scruffajet asks a shallow felicitations question. How do you manage to always have perfect eyeliner? Share your secrets, please. Well, Scruffajet, I do not have perfect eyeliner, but the secret is, I appreciate it. I will take that compliment. I'm not going to say I don't have perfect. It looks perfect because I have had many, many years of other people putting eyeliner on me and practicing. Also, I wanted to be Audrey Hepburn as a child, so I did practice doing a steady eyeliner. What my favorite thing to do is to find, I think it's NYX is the brand. It's a soft, dark brown and black eyeliner. And I put it right close to the eyelash line. You really don't want to do a thick liner or it looks like you're in the 60s. So you do a thin liner and then always wing it out. The angle, this is the secret someone told me. The angle, like take your bottom lid and go up and do that angle, and that's how your wings should go. So follow that just a tiny bit at the end to extend your eye and your lash line out. And then I always use a slanted, are all the guys sleeping now? I use a slanted brush, and I dip it in whatever color eyeshadow, and I go over the eyeliner with that. That is the secret, y'all. Because it seals it up so it doesn't smudge, and B, you can fix any like crookedness with the eyeshadow, and because it's a little bit thicker, so it's a little bit more smoky than like a real super precise liner. But I don't know how those people do that. So recommendations. Nobody ever asked me for my makeup. I'm so excited about this question. All right. Stuart Howell asks, what if any Star Wars or Lord of the Rings character would you be if given the chance? Well, I would be Mara Jade, okay? I don't know if she's canon, but she should be. And Lord of the Rings character, well, I gotta tell you guys, and this may get my nerd card revoked. No, you can't do it. You can't revoke my nerd card, sorry. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. There are not a lot of ladies in that world. There are not a lot of ladies that have significant interactions. I appreciate the ones they added. I'm not excited for the TV show unless they gender bent a couple of the characters. I will just be honest with you. And I don't like brown. There's too many brown colors in Lord of the Rings. And feet. Hairy feet turn me off. I am sacriléging all over the place. I'm just not a fan. Also, I found it hard to get through the writing. I read them. I made myself read them. The world building is not, I really do believe it's probably, I didn't have a lot of characters I could identify with. And the color palette and the feet. No, people just rage quit. All right. I'm going to answer two more quick. We're doing a lot of questions tonight. I'm just doing it. Let's see. If you could, Jessica Smith asks, if you could become instantly fluent in 5 languages, what would they be? A, French. B, Mandarin Chinese. C, Spanish. D, Thai. And E, 5. Yes, 5. E, probably like Latin. I would love to be able to, or just like some, Like I would not want to do like Klingon or something. That's an ugly language. Elvish would be cool, but that's also Dothraki. Those are all made up languages. They're not real. And I want to be able to converse with other people in them. So I guess Latin would not be good. Let's do I would love to do maybe Arabic because it's obviously it's a beautiful language, I think. And there's a lot of interesting poetry and stuff that I would love to read in that language. So there you go. Or maybe Hebrew. I guess I would want to be able to read things in the native language, like Pablo Neruda and French, like Balzac or something. I don't know why I said Balzac. I have no thirst to read Balzac. That was so pretentious. I'm so sorry. Move on. Okay, last question. Have you ever refused to do something for a job or had a total diva moment? Oh, Stephanie Houston. Listen, all of us have had diva moments. I try to behave in a way that A, no one can use it against me later, or B, just treating people how I want to be treated. I always can tell you can always tell the measure of someone how they treat the least important person in the room. And I have known a lot of people who treat me very nicely, and then I see how they treat other people. I'm like, oh, that's disappointing. Not a lot of people, but I've had that encounter in Hollywood a lot. So, I have refused to do things for a job. A, I didn't get naked once. B, I did not eat snails once. C, I didn't jump off a building. It was like a 9 foot, or it wasn't a 9 foot drop, but it was like a drop that I felt uncomfortable doing. I've refused to do a couple stunts because I just didn't feel safe. And I was like, no, I want the stunt double to do that. Even though it would have been easier for me to do it for the camera, I did not want to endanger myself. So that, and eating weird things, yes, I did not want to eat snails. The other day I went on Rhett and Link recently, and I refused to eat oh God, it was slugs. Oh, it was a cockroach. Oh God. And it was also drinking pig blood. And I was like, absolutely not for a web video, not for anything. No, thank you. I've never refused to be on camera with someone, which I feel like I should have. I will be honest with you, and I actually wrote this on my Discord the other day. I did an interview when I was doing my book tour several years ago, and I was just on a junket. So that's where the publisher just takes you to a bunch of places, and I didn't pay attention to the list of where I was going that day. You just do a bunch of press all day. And so they took me to iHeartRadio, and there were several radio stations on there, and I found myself suddenly in Jenny McCarthy's on her show, and she was lovely to me. But I did, inside, I wanted to refuse to be on there because I do not think that she has done good things for the world around vaccines. And so that is just my opinion. And there's very few times where I will give people the benefit of the doubt. I mean, few people, I will not give people the benefit of the doubt and stuff. But that is something, especially now, I'm like, if you've contributed to that, you've contributed to children being harmed. And I don't think that's cool. So, yeah. So those are the things, Stephanie. Nothing dramatic. A couple of times I've asked them to change a line for what I felt was a little sexist or out of character for my character. But in general, you know what? Life is pretty great, and working is great. As a writer and an actor, that's why I do what I do. All right. Well, I think I've talked a lot, and I'm looking at the list of questions. I think we're done. I have a couple questions that I picked out that people have asked for next time that I would love to get more in depth with, but I've talked quite a bit and I have other things to do. So let's wrap it up. Please subscribe, leave a rating here. A little review would be really nice, and follow me on social media. I will be announcing something really cool, and your support again would be really cool. Join me on the Discord, discord.gg/FeliciaDay. That is a place where you can chat with fellow cool people. And they have lots of categories where you can actually find really great book recommendations. So Gina Wilkolak, that's it. Go on the Discord. There's a books area, and I've actually picked up 2 or 3 recommendations from there. So, hey, retcon that question. And I will be streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/FeliciaDay. I will be streaming on Saturday nights. I do not have another convention until Miami after 4th of July. So I will be in town streaming my little heart out on the Saturday bitchin' night. All right. Thanks for everyone who supports what I do, visits me at conventions, spreads word about my work. You are awesome. I hope to have more of it out there very soon. Thank you very much. Bye. was that?